Hello, Hamilton County Public Health. My name is Marcus Artusio,
And my name is Ian Schwarzenberg.
and we have developed a website to help your agency allocate Narcan resources for predicted overdoses in Cincinnati. The number of overdoses in Cincinnati has already surpassed those in 2016 and has been rising with the introduction of fentanyl-laced heroin. This begs the question, is it possible to reduce overdose deaths? Narcan is an opioid antidote in the form of nasal spray that saves lives by helping the victim breathe again. In September of 2017, Hamilton County debuted a collaborative Narcan project with $550,000 for Narcan distribution over 2 years. This is where we come in. Narcan Distribution Cincinnati.gov is a website intended for public health officials to oversee the appropriate distribution of Narcan to different neighborhoods through a Narcan resource score. The Narcan resource score ranges from severely unmet to surplus, where severely unmet is not adequate Narcan funding to meet future need, and surplus means there's too great allocation. This website will firstly help to identify public and private institutions within a neighborhood and identify where the budget in the new Narcan project will go. So how is this done? Firstly, data was collected from Cincinnati Open Data Portal and the CAGIS Hamilton County website. From there, we created a set of predictors which included a mixture of distance and density variables for a total of about 20 different variables. We then used a prediction model that applied these variables to a grid that represents about 5 by 5 city blocks, which seems like an appropriate size for identifying enough institutions in the cell. The prediction model identified neighborhoods with 4 levels of predicted risk. In the final step, the predicted risk score is assigned a percentage of dedicated budget, and then this is divided by the number of cells in that risk category to come up with the percent of budget required for each individual cell. This percent is multiplied by the total budget, and then this is compared with the budget currently going to that cell for a Narcan resource score between severely unmet and surplus. This is a step that requires those working on the Narcan project to input data on how much of their budget is going to the institutions within that cell.
To build a model for predicted risk, there were several steps. First, we identify the fact that the count of heroin overdoses is not linear, meaning the count is not a product of the predictors. With this in mind, we selected a generalized linear model to estimate a Poisson regression. We subsetted the data into a training set from 2015 to 2016 to predict for a test set from 2017. We then ran the model using our approximately 20 variables, and from there we identified the significant variables and took out those that were not. 10 of those variables were not significant. To see if this model was accurate, the predictions for future heroin overdoses were placed on a grid cell raster in GIS. Then we created a kernel density map of heroin overdoses from the 2017 test set to compare the two by using the same classification scheme. By making these the same classification scheme and setting these classes equal between the predicted and the actual heroin overdoses in 2017, we conceived that this model more accurately predicts areas of high overdose better than the current standard of kernel density. The user is first directed to a map of observed heroin overdoses. These overdoses are mapped in a heat map to show the density of the overdoses. The user can filter overdoses through a variety of attributes. Knowing the scope of the problem can be useful for officials to learn overdose trends. This is easy to see using the Data Visualization tab that provides graphs and charts. Additionally, they can select individual overdoses to see more detailed information. Clicking on the institutional points will provide information about location and Narcan amounts. The next page of the website is the predicted overdoses map. This part allows the users to view the risk of future overdoses by cell. Users can click on individual cells where information pops up detailing how much Narcan has been given to each institution within the cell in the last 3 days. It also shows the cells, total Narcan allocation, the percent of the city's total Narcan supply in the cell, the cell's total Narcan budget, the total Narcan budget of the city, and finally, the cell's percent of the city's total Narcan budget. The Narcan resource score page is what public health officials will find most useful if they choose to input budget data. This lets users click on each cell like in the predicted overdoses page, but this time users are given the percent of budget needed to meet future need, which is the Narcan resource score. The cell's risk score is also given so that users do not have to toggle back and forth between pages. This is the page public health officials will find most useful for identifying where to distribute their resources in the near future.
Saving lives is our goal. Through harnessing the data provided by the City of Cincinnati, we can predict what areas need the most resources, and with input from health officials associated with the Collaborative Narcan Project, we can determine how best to distribute its budget. The Collaborative Narcan Project is a shot at keeping people alive and communities intact, and NarcanDistributionCincinnati.gov provides a measure to implement this project to its highest capacity. Thank you.